Hey, welcome to Story Times with Ty. I'm Ty. So corny. I don't care. I'm keeping it in there. All right. So I decided that I wanted to share my stories with you guys. Most people know me. They know that my life is it's probably like everyone else's. We all have stories. Growing up, we have things that we've all been through, but you realize that those things that we've been through were the building blocks of our success. So that's where I'm at now. And what made me decide to start talking really about uh, little life stories that I've been through, and it's not really necessarily like scenarios or anything. It's like it's life things that I've witnessed. It's all facts, no cap. And I was talking to my dad a couple weeks ago, and I was telling him about this. I'm like, yo, you remember this time when this happened? He was like, yo, I can't believe you remember that. And there's so many details. I was like, yeah, man, it's a lot, that I remember, that I went through, and that I actually just want to share because it's me. It's my DNA. It's who I am now. It's what helps me go through life now, so I don't make the same decisions or the choices that I've seen family make, I've seen my parents make, and sometimes I've made myself. But I think my stories are pretty interesting, so I wanted to share them. So the one I want to tell you guys about today is how I survived growing up on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, like how we made it so we can get through Monday. So if you know me, I'm from Asbury Park, New Jersey. I reside right now in Central Florida, and for most of my childhood, I think almost up to me being an adult to a few years ago, because I've always ended up going back. We've always lived in the projects. If you're from Asbury Park, that square mile, either you've lived in the projects or you have family who resided in the projects. So in Asbury, that square mile, if you don't know, you have you got the old village, which is Asbury Park Village. Lived there. My grandma lived there. If you know the Bellamy's, the Joneses, the Williams, the Smiths, the Pews, the Farleys, a lot of families came out of the Browns. A lot of families came out of the old village. And I had family in there, had cousins in there. And if you wasn't in the old village, you was across the street, you was in the Boston Way. And in the Boston Way, it was 7 buildings. We were building 7, apartment 12. If you know people who lived in the Boston Way, they will tell you exactly what building they lived in, what apartment you came in. So I'm pretty sure somebody watching this right now is like, I was building one apartment 6. Like, somebody who was in those 7 buildings. And again, it was across the street from Asbury Park Village. If you grew up in the village with your parents and you got your first apartment, more than likely they put you in the Boston Way or they gave you an apartment that was already in the village. It was like a never-ending cycle. You were there. So from those 2 villages, the next one you had was the Lincoln Village, and then across the street from the Lincoln Village was the Frederick Douglass, I believe. Then you had the Stephen Manners, and I forgot the other one. Frederick Douglass, Stephen Manor. It was another building too. I just can't think of it. And you had Washington Village, but in this little area, you had all these little villages, all these little projects. So that's how we grew up. So we started in the old village, made our way to the Boston Way. And my parents, most people know who do know me that we didn't grow up easy. My parents were drug addicts. You know, most parents that we knew were. If your parents wasn't, excuse me, if your parents wasn't drug addicts, you had somebody in your family. You had an aunt, you had an uncle, you had a cousin, you knew somebody in your family that was addicted to crack, and it is what it is. It's a it's a it was a pandemic that really hit uh, urban communities, drugs, and it tore families apart, and mine was no different. But my parents tried their best, and I could think of times when we actually it drawn us closer. So that's why I want to talk about the weekends. On the weekends, what we would do is on Saturday we would get up, we would watch cartoons. Soul Train could 1 to 12 o'clock if you still was in the house. But by then we was preparing ourselves because we had to get up early because we had to go from the Boston Way to Asbury Avenue. It was Asbury and Grand Avenue, Trinity Church. On the weekends, they served lunches to the less fortunate. So my mom and my dad knew that if they got there early, help set up, help serve, help break down and clean up, that they could leave with extra food. So that's what we did. We got there early. I would say roughly sometimes between like 9 and 10 o'clock. We helped set up the tables, and then they was helping prepare the food. Then they helped serve the food. And once it was over, we took all this food home. We took food, we took bread, they had snacks, and that's how we survived because we didn't have money. If we did, my parents didn't make the decisions that they, it's life. If you can't figure it out, then you just maybe you didn't have the luxury of struggling the way we all did at one point. So that was what we did on Saturdays. And then when we go home, we got all this food. That it would make us through. It would get us through the next couple of days. But my parents knew that by the time we hit Tuesday, Wednesday, that food is starting to run out. So if we wasn't hitting pantries, we had to find a way to get more food if they wasn't going to be asking my grandmother for money. So Sundays, we went to another church. I think it's the Episcopal Church. It's on Prospect Avenue in Asbury. It's like right across from the Stephen Manors. It's in the back of Stephen Manor. And we went there early. We set up with this guy. I believe his name was Sugar Bear. I told my dad, like, I think his name was Sugar Bear. My dad was like, I can't believe you remember that. I'm like, yeah. We used to go there. We set up. They would have toys for us to play with. It was at the bottom of a church. So they would have their service in the morning. And then that afternoon, they would let these charities come in so they could feed us. And we did the exact same thing again. We went early. We helped set up, served food, cleaned up, broke everything down, and we was able to take extra food with us. And that's how we survived. And I'm always grateful when I look back on those stories because I know that I'm not there now. And I know that even in 2020, and even as the year is ending, that there were people during this pandemic and even before the pandemic that was going through situations like this, where they were trying to find ways to provide for their families. And we do it now. It may not necessarily be us going to church, but for me, it was driving Uber Eats to make sure that we had gas in the car and we had food. We had food for the kids, or taking dead-end jobs that you knew wasn't going to last, but you did whatever you had to do to provide for your children, for your family. Now, given my parents' circumstances being addicted to the drugs, it was a lot for them. So I can't remember when my dad constantly had a steady job. I remember him working for this guy, I believe his name was Herman, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure once you see this video, it's going to say it's Herman. But it was right across from downtown Cookman in Asbury. It was across the street from this store called JJ Newberry's. And my dad he worked over there. And, my dad used to drink 40s. I probably still drink 40s, but my dad used to drink 40s. And after, that's what he would do, go to work, make money, then him and my mom would do whatever they did. It is what it is. Now, as I'm older, I just didn't understand it back then that they had a problem. But, my mom is gone, God rest her soul. She got herself together. My father is still here. And my father, every weekend, my dad's in a program, and he tells people his story about things that he's been through and my dad's been, I know he's over 10 years clean. I believe it's 13 years if I'm not mistaken, but my dad's been clean for a long time. And, he told me that the issue now is not staying clean, it's making sure you change the behaviors. So you don't go back down those roads. Go back down that road where it got you to where it got you to. And I always tell him, like, I'm not making those decisions, but I'm always mindful of what those decisions did to our family. For example, the weekends. I would have loved to go to movies. I didn't. We didn't do much with our parents when we were younger. They did go on field trips with us, but they always bring our own food. We never ate at the place. That's something that I didn't experience until I was in the 5th grade when a classmate of mine, her name was Raquel Williams. Her mom name is Tracy Williams. And Miss Tracy had seen me. My dad had got us these subs. The food was good. But all my other friends were like, their parents came and they gave them money. So they was getting souvenirs. And I feel like we either went to the Liberty Science Center or we went to the Statue of Liberty. Ms. Conforti, my teacher, I'm pretty sure when she watches, my old teacher, she'll tell me exactly where we went. But I remember we going there and my dad like, maybe eat your food. And I'm just looking at the other kids and they getting hot food. And I remember Raquel's mom just took me and brought me some fries. And I was like, wow, man, she always looked out for me as I got older. Always was very cordial with me, even when I was out in these streets going crazy. Her mom was always, I will say, like she was an angel in disguise because she never judged me, and she always was nice to me. But I always remember that when I was in 5th grade, and her mom, Raquel's mom, brought me some fries. It's little things like that will always have an effect on children. And you keep in mind, this was maybe 23, 24 years ago. And I remember that to this day. And I told her a couple months back, like, just thank you. You don't know that when these children are going through things and you may do something that may seem small to you and may not hurt your pockets, but it will always have an everlasting effect on those children because they see that, despite my circumstances, there was someone who actually was there and actually cared about me. So I always think about that. But it always brings me back to my weekend routine, what I did with my family. We had to serve. And this was before I even realized what serving was. Before I got saved, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what it was, but I realized that in order for me to get more, I had to serve with my family. That's a little message right there. If you want more, you got to serve. But that's what it was. We had to. Got up early, and it was embarrassing. I'm not even gonna tell you. I'm not gonna lie to you because we didn't always have the best clothes. We didn't always have the best sneakers. We had hand-me-downs, but we had wherever someone was giving out free clothes. That's what we got. Our family gave us stuff, but we just, now I'm thinking back on it. It's not easy being a parent. I'm a parent, 4 children in, no more to go. And it's not easy. Every day is not easy making sure your kids got something to eat. You can't think about just yourself when you're a parent. You have these other children, you have these other babies that got to eat. You got to think about the decisions that you're making because not only does it affect you, but it affects your family as well. So I was always mindful of that, but I didn't even realize that now. I didn't realize that until now that I was serving in order for us to get more. In order for us to survive throughout the week, we had to serve every Saturday, every Sunday. And it was like clockwork. It wasn't no weekends off unless me and my sister Lynette, because we were the 2 oldest at the time, we would spend weekends with my grandmother. We went to my grandmother's house. We wasn't going with my mom and Shay and my dad to go to the churches because grandma had food. Or they took all 3 of us, because this is before Deja was around. They took all 3 of us, then we were good. Or it would be like one weekend, one grandchild, and we would rotate. But if it wasn't with our grandparents, we definitely were in 2 churches on Saturday and Sunday serving because we had to eat. And my parents knew, all right, we got to go over here to go get the food from this pantry. We got to go to the pantry in Bradley Beach. We got to go to the pantry in Neptune. We got to go to the Mercy Center because you got to sign the kids up to get gifts for Christmas. It was an ongoing. It was a ongoing thing. And even now, I believe the Mercy Center probably in Asbury still gives out gifts. And even places like the Boys Club, give out gifts, and they feed families as well. But you just don't know. You don't know what these children are really going through unless you've been in the situation that they're in now, where you see that the parents are struggling. They can be struggling financially. They can be struggling mentally, because mental health is a serious thing in our community. But they could be struggling through the drugs. I know there was these big campaigns about crack being whack, and now you see it. You see it is not just affecting the urban community; it's affecting the suburbs now. Excuse me. Now it's a pandemic. It was always a pandemic. Y'all just happened to look us over, unfortunately. But that's what I remember about the weekends when I was growing up in the Boston way, and even in the old village. We had to spend our weekend serving because that was the only way that we were going to be able to eat. So even if you knew me back then and you see me now, you're like, wow. I remember seeing some kids that I went to school with on the weekends, and we was in those churches together eating because that was the only way that we were surviving. Many families like that in the Boston way, the Old Village, Washington Village, Frederick Douglass, Lincoln Village, anywhere the projects in next across the street from the Stephen Manners, even them. We all got stories, but that's what I used to do on the weekends, unfortunately. But unfortunate though, because it made me who I am. And as you can see, I don't miss any meals. I ain't miss them then. I ain't missing them now. But that is story time with me. I wanted to share that. Yeah. I feel good about sharing the story. It makes me appreciative and thankful that I had parents that, even though they made some rocky decisions in life, they still thought about ways to make sure that we were good. So, yeah, I'm appreciative as I'm older and I have a family of my own. I realized it wasn't easy because no one knows. There's no real book on how to be a parent, and there's no chapter on how to be a parent when you're struggling with addictions. It can be taught. Sometimes it just has to be experienced. Unfortunately, in some situations, it just happened to be my family. But there was other families that were just like mine that struggled. And now when I even see some of my mom's old friends and they're doing good, they're clean for however many years, I'm just like, I'm proud of you. If nobody told you, I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you decided that enough was enough and that you wanted something better for your life. I'm happy that you decided to make that decision before it got too late and your family lost you. And I know people who've overdosed, my mom's friends, and people that we've known along the way. And it's not it's a touchy subject because here was somebody trying to relieve pain with a drug, because that's what it tends to be sometimes. I'm pretty sure it's more to that, but using those drugs, it has to affect you somehow mentally. Constantly chasing that high. I remember when one time my mom had got into an argument with my aunt, and she said, "You know what? I'm just gonna go get high. I can't take this no more." And at this point, I believe she was like maybe a year clean. I'm like, "Mom, don't do that. You're doing good." She's like, "No, no, no. Anybody always got something to say about me? I'm gonna go get high." And that's what she did. She left and she went to get high. And I remember looking at my mom and her mouth moving constantly, and it just looked. Sometimes she looked lifeless. It's crazy. You don't realize what people are really going through until you really try to sit there and try to understand and reason with them. Like, why are you making these decisions that you're making, and you don't understand. And I thank God that I've never had to experience that with any drugs, but just watching what it did to my family members, it was enough for me to have compassion for them and to know that there is another way outside of just using drugs to self-medicate yourself. And it's just crazy. But yeah, that's man, I didn't expect to go I didn't expect to be heavy. I just wanted to bring a little lighthearted story to you, but this what it was like growing up where I'm at, where I was, and just watching the things that I watched. It was definitely crazy, but it made me a better man today. And I'm grateful that I went through these experiences. So I hope that you enjoyed my weekend story. I hope that it makes you want to come back and listen to the next story that I'm going to tell. And I hope that it makes you appreciate the people that's around you. You may watch this and you may know somebody right now who are struggling with an addiction. I encourage you to be compassionate to them and to talk to them and find the ways that you can help them be a better person. Because I don't think that people don't necessarily want to be on. I don't think people want to be on drugs. I don't think people want to be depressed. I don't believe that. I believe everybody wants help. And sometimes it may not be you that can be the helping person, but it can be someone else. So don't discourage somebody from helping people who need help. And if you happen to be the person who's going to help that family member, friend, cousin, brother, sister, mom, dad, son, daughter, grandmother, grandfather, I've seen it all. If it's going to be you to help them, then, I pray strength for you because it's definitely not easy. And I take comfort in knowing that even my mom's last days, she wasn't using drugs. That's not how she left this world. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the lessons that she taught me. And I'm grateful that she helped me get these stories that I'm going to be able to share with you. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that this story time with Ty has was enlightening and it was cool for you as it was for me. Be blessed.